Well, good afternoon. How we doing? Everyone doing okay? Boom, we're gonna get started. Welcome to F&I Products for Subprime Success. My name is Justin Osborne. If you don't know who I am the NABD Retail 20 Group Moderator. So I work with the retail and subprime dealers across the country and do all the 20 groups for the retail side. Additionally, the CMD or Certified Master Dealer Instructor for NADA. So that's who I am. I'm curious a little bit about who we have in the room here, because this topic, we're gonna kind of jump the fence and go from buy here, pay here to retail, a little bit back and forth. So raise your hand if your primary business is buy here, pay here. Awesome, welcome. And raise your hand if your primary business is retail. Okay, and then raise your hand if you're doing a little bit of a mixture of both. Deal. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is generating revenues in subprime. I'm honored to have the two people on the panel that we have today. They're experts in what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to break this up into three main sections that we're going to talk about in the next 45 minutes. The first section we're going to talk about is reinsurance. The second section we're going to talk about is F&I products. And the third section we're going to talk about is F&I processes if we have time. Throughout the three sections, I'm going to take questions on those subjects before we move on to the next. So as we move through reinsurance, and these guys talk a little bit about what reinsurance is and how it applies and the differences between the buy here, pay here space and the retail space. If you have questions, please, we're recording this, so I'd ask you to please come to one of these microphones and speak into your question in the microphone so we can get the question on the audio and the rest of us can hear your question. Fair enough? Deal? Awesome. So with that, I'm going to let these two gentlemen introduce themselves. So we'll start. Rob, with you. Would you like to start?
Yeah. My name is Rob Fox. I'm the president of Buckeye Dealership Consulting. And what we do is we set up and manage reinsurance structures for auto dealers. Most of my career has been doing new car dealers, but for the last 10, I've been specializing in buy here, pay here. And as the buy here, pay here market has changed, we have also changed, and we now do subprime and new car dealers, as well as mostly buy here, pay here dealers. We're, of course, located out of Ohio, if you couldn't guess by our name, and we have clients basically in all lower 48 states.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome. Sir Joe?
Hi, I'm Joe McCloskey. I have McCloskey Dealerships in Colorado Springs, Colorado. We're in our 30th year of doing business. We used to run, we started out as buy here, pay here, and then for several years ran buy here, pay here, subprime and prime out of just one rooftop. We have two locations, but each rooftop would handle those. And then for a little short time, for about 10 years, we threw franchises in the mix of all that. So we're doing all four out of underneath one rooftop. We have two locations. To give you a little brief background also, I'm a two-time Colorado State Quality Dealer of the Year award winner, NIADA National Independent Auto Dealer, National Quality Dealer of the Year award winner. I also serve on the NIADA Executive Board. I'm the Western Regional Vice President in charge of everything basically from Colorado West to Hawaii. I keep trying to get NIADA to send me Hawaii. North to Canada and south to Mexico. Also am a 20 group member, been a member of the 20 group for over 20 years. And it's one of the best things that I ever did, one of the best decisions, in addition to my wife, marrying her. So that's it.
Awesome. Well, welcome. And also, Joe, I know that you guys recently won another award. Do you want to tell them about that?
Yes. Last week, we actually, we're pretty proud of it. We won the Better Business Bureau Excellence in Customer Service Award. What that means is it's the first time in 25-year history that a used car dealer has ever won that award from the Better Business Bureau. So our teams, we're real proud of our team, and customer service is very important to us. So.
Awesome. Well, so we got some strong firepower up here to talk about this topic today, and we're going to start with Rob. And Rob, why don't you just kick it off? We're going to be on this reinsurance topic for a minute and just walk through the differences between buy here, pay here reinsurance and what that means for a retail dealer as far as reinsurance.
Yeah, there's two real main differences in reinsurance. Now, it's still the same tool, it's still the same setup as far as the functionality and the IRS rules. But for a buyer-payer dealer, it's more financial engineering than it is anything else. It is taking money that would be taxed at a higher rate and moving it to a tax favorable status at a lower rate. It also gives you deferral. We work with your accountants a little more heavily on how it should be structured and the pricing. But it's a much more of a, it's a financial engineering. It's lowering your tax bill. On a subprime, okay, it's going to sound terrible, but we call it opium, other people's money, okay? You're using other people's money to create wealth. You're financing a contract, they're financing ancillary products. By using reinsurance, you have the tool to maximize the profit of that product. And let me tell you right now, all F&I products outside of GAAP can be designed to be profitable, okay? Service contracts, we know we can go into a service contract and we can price it whether you're a buy here, pay here, or a subprime for a 35 to 45% loss. You can look at maintenance programs, you can look at any other program you want. We know the actuarial data on those products. So it's no longer guesswork for us. So it's just, do you want to take advantage of that extra couple $100, in some cases, an extra $1,000 in profit, or don't you? So there's two different structures. I mean, it's the same structure, but two different motivating factors. One is to lower your tax bill for the buyer payer, because you still have access to the capital, you still can use it, but it just lowers your tax bill. Or is it using other people's money to generate wealth? And that's what reinsurance is. It's time tested, it's been around for years. Well, since '72 it's been around. So we have all the technical advice memorandums, which are what the IRS puts out, and these are legitimate structures.
Thank you for that. And Joe, looking more from the practical side, on reinsurance, you started out buy here, pay here. Now you're full scale, full blown retail operation doing subprime and prime retail business with just a nails fixed operations department as well. Has your strategy, looking from the buy here, pay here side, now to the retail side, have your strategies changed with reinsurance over the years?
They changed a little bit, and just to clarify, we're no longer doing buy here, pay here. We're doing, we run all that paper through CAC. So basically, what I'll be talking about addressing would be the subprime or prime paper that we're running through now. So there are many different strategies that for owning a reinsurance company, if you're doing subprime to prime business. One would be to make sure that you are, as Rob was saying, properly reserving enough money to cover your costs. It's absolutely critical that you meet with your service contract provider at least twice a year and review your portfolio. You want to make sure that you're making any necessary adjustments to the policy costs to ensure the profitability, because you are going to be financing through subprime paper, you're going to be financing higher end vehicles, which can be more costly to repair, and it's important to keep an eye on them. A lot of trends will shift very quickly. Right now, for example, 3.5 EcoBoosts on Ford F-150s, they're very hard to find as a used motor if you have an engine that fails on you. So basically, you got to go out and buy a brand new 3.5 EcoBoost, and in order to get that vehicle back on the road if it's a covered component. So that can be very costly, and it's something you want to keep an eye on with your reinsurance company. You will want to price your extended service contracts, as Rob had alluded to, at no more than a 70% loss ratio. The ideal extended service contract loss ratio for a subprime portfolio, reinsurance portfolio, is between 45 and 48%. You want to make sure that you do have a dealer non-obligor, and I did say non-obligor, reinsurance company to mitigate your losses. And Rob will probably pick up on that about the differences between those two, between obligor and non-obligor. As the costs are higher, you want to make sure that you're protecting your company with the dealer non-obligor reinsurance company. The next strategy, which you probably would want as buy here, pay here as well, but certainly with subprime paper, is to make sure that you have a 50 to 75 mile rule in each one of your extended service contract policies. This requires the customer to return the vehicle back to your dealership have a breakdown within a 50-mile radius of your store to have their vehicle repaired. Even if you do not have a repair shop, you're not able to get to it because you're busy reconditioning cars, at least you can control the expense by subletting that repair out, or internally, if you're doing that repair, then you can generate a profit on that extended service contract repair as well. The last strategy, of course, which would be the same with buy here, pay here, reinsurance companies, is to make sure that your vehicles are not being reconditioned under the extended service contracts.
Yeah, you want to make sure, by the way, back to the non-dealer, there's two types of products in our business. One is an admin obligor and one is a dealer obligor. The risk is still the same in my mind. It's all your money anyways at the pot if you price it correctly. But an admin obligor, it doesn't fall back to the dealer if you price it wrong, get a whole bunch of Chrysler vans with bad transmissions, and it goes negative. It goes back to the admin obligor at that point. It does not go back to the dealer. And there's also tax advantages with an admin obligor over a dealer obligor.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, and we're going to take questions on reinsurance in just a second. So if you have a question coming up specific to these guys, go ahead and make your way to the microphone now. But Joe, just to kind of spring off what you guys are talking about, what advice would you give to a dealer, whether they're buy here, pay here, or retail, that they should ask themselves or they should ask their rep or an agency when they're considering reinsurance, especially for the first time?
Well, that's a really good question. First thing I would do is I would meet with your reinsurance company representatives or prospective reinsurance company representatives and ask them what their fees are. These fees are all negotiable, and they vary. Bless you. They vary between company to company. So the things that you want to ask about the fees are ceding fees, loss adjustment taxes, contract liability expenses, admin fees, and servicing fees. So you want to ask about those fees and compare them between warranty reinsurance companies. Next thing I would do is I would ask them what the return on investment is while these funds are sitting in a restricted status, and how much or what is their return on investment that you can expect out of those, and where are they investing those funds. Sometimes they'll try and park some of that money in cash or cash and equivalents, so you want to make sure your money's always working for you, even if it is in a restricted status. And then another one is, what are the investment options available to you once these extended service contracts start earning out, or finance products policies start earning out? What are the investment opportunities that you have? Can you then redirect that money out of their control, care, custody, and control, and reinvest that money under your reinsurance company yourself, or maybe they have some products and services that would help you as well. The next thing I would do is I would ask the reinsurance company the following questions, and this is on a subprime basis or to prime. One is I would ask them what their claims on hold time is. We've had over the years, I've been doing reinsurance for 30 years, and every company goes through certain times where maybe they may not be answering the phone or whatever, but I've had a service writer be on hold for 20 minutes just trying to get a hold of a service provider or a claims adjuster before, and that's money while I'm having customers lining up in a service drive. So certainly we can address that with them. That's something that they weren't proud of, and they remedied it quickly. But I would ask them what is their claims on hold time, what are their standards for the claim processing. I would also ask what are their claims processing time expectations, how long does it take them to actually process a claim. Next, I would ask them what is their flat rate that they will pay, and what are the parts markup. If you're doing subprime, typically you'll want that customer to keep coming back to your service department, and or if you're subletting that work out, you want to make sure that it's competitive, we're paying a competitive rate. And the other one is how will they reimburse you for the repair. Some like to pay by credit card, and they'll pay right then and there. Others will have you submit your claims and then pay out like once a month. The credit card's easier because that way you get, at that moment, you know exactly how much money you're getting. If there's a deductible or something that wasn't covered, you can try and recapture that from your customer. The other one, this is a pretty important question, at least for me, is what is the flexibility, what flexibility is available if you want to override an adjuster or an inspector's opinion? What I mean by that is if you have your own reinsurance company and their job is, number one, to protect you from yourself as a dealer. And because you want to make sure you're following very rigid rules and you're meeting the compliance regulations that are set forth. There are times when you may have to do the Orville-Rambley rule, which is you just got to do what's right. I understand what's in writing, but we want to take care of this customer. It could be a long-term customer. It could be something that pre-existing condition. It would be another, which is a variable that's subjective, pre-existing condition. If they took the vehicle off the lot, drove it for 100 miles, and then something blows up, you know, if they're trying to call that pre-existing, again, you could have a customer there with a blown engine or transmission or a major component, and who's to say that it was pre-existing or not? So that's a good question to ask them, so at least you know what the rules of engagement are going in. Again, the key is to interview your company or prospective companies to make sure that's a good fit, because you will be with these partners in profit for a long time. Again, I've only had, over a period of time in 30 years, I've only had 2 reinsurance companies. So it's one that you want to set as your portfolio is building and growing. It's not the time to keep changing reinsurance companies. You want to pick a really good quality one up front.
That's excellent. That's a solid list of questions to ask. Any questions about reinsurance specifically? Anybody have any questions about reinsurance before we move on?
Can I touch on one thing?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, sorry. No. One of the things too, okay, when you go over fees, okay, I see two CPI carriers in here. You know, even like CPI, okay, it's pretty standard, the pricing. But to ask those extra questions about the loss adjustment expense, other fees, you want to drill down, just know what your charges are, and then even it out as a percentage. On the service contracts, you know, you don't want an adjuster out on every one. You do want someone to go look, you know, you want the claims authorization, but let me tell you something. You need to act like an insurance company, so you cannot override every claim just because you want to, all right? You know, the IRS regulates these insurance companies. They are taxed favorably. You override every claim, you're not acting like an insurance company. You're acting like a dealer.
Right.
And they're going to treat you like a dealer and tax you like a dealer. They're not going to tax you favorably. So you use these tools sparingly, and your manager should help you through that process of, hey, listen, you do too many, what we would term gray area claims. You know, we need to really hold to the contract, because these are contracts your customers are getting. Okay? You can do them. I mean, I understand. The last thing in the world you want is a good payer who happens to be out of town and they got a blown engine and you're not going to take care of it. You know, how they get back home, how they get a new car, that should be handled. The customer shouldn't worry about it. Okay? Worry about arguing it later on. But you just can't do that every time a claim comes up. And your manager should help you through that. As far as claims, you know, claims handling, oh God, I can't tell you. We use one company, he's sitting right back here, right now for our claims because they answer the phone fast. It's so important to take care of your customer. And that, again, goes to your customer. Because the first thing, when they don't pick the phone up, they're looking at the customer saying, hey, buddy, you got a bad service contract, or you got a bad warranty. And all of a sudden it falls on you because your customer's calling you. So, you know, as you go through these, take the time. Don't just sign up with the first person that shows up. Take the time to investigate it, look at it. Because I'll tell you, if it's structured right, like Joe just said, you won't leave us for 30 years. You won't leave who you're with, as long as it's done right.
Good stuff. Any questions? Reinsurance? Going once, going twice? You did. You want to give her the 30-second?
Okay, the definition of reinsurance company. Under the U.S. tax code, yeah, thank you. Under the U.S. tax code, an 831B company is considered a small insurance company, and that is $2.3 million in premium a year. And the benefit you get there is it's not taxed on underwriting profit. It's only taxed on investment income. And when you do take a dividend, it's only taxed at capital gains. So it's a single taxation entity where you're able then to take service contracts, warranties, CPI, as a buyer payer, okay? And you could do it, and Joe and I will go over other products as we move along here. But for a buyer payer, CPI, every day, all day long, you should be doing. And then warranties, because you're accounting for the transaction that you're already doing, okay? You're fixing the car if the customer brings it in. You might not give them a warranty, you might not say they have a warranty, but you're taking care of that car, especially if they're paying you. So what we do is say, listen, let's account for the transaction, let's reserve the money, take advantage of the tax law, and then CPI, again, listen, if you're a buyer payer and you're not doing it, there's probably, I think, 3 carriers, in the room, or, you should talk to all of them at once.
So we're going to move right along now past reinsurance. If you do have more reinsurance questions, I think, go ahead, Joe.
I might just pick up on that real quick to make it real simple. And Rob did a great job explaining it, not that it wasn't simple. But to make it real simple, reinsurance company allows the profits after you submit claims, after you submit premiums, then you pay your claims. The difference left is the profit, right? And that money can grow essentially tax-free, other than the investment income, rather than meaning that you're taking that money and investing it in money market accounts, whatever, that becomes taxable. So what happens is that money's then growing tax-free, and it's that compounding, but what gives you a lot of wealth building is that it grows tax-free and is compounding tax-free over the period of years. So, and then when you pull it out, then typically, and you need to check with your CPA, but then you pay capital gains on it, it's not taxed as ordinary income. And your reinsurance company providers will help advise you on this, and they help prepare all the tax returns, and it's a very simple process, but one I would highly recommend.
And we prefer the term tax advantage, please.
Tax advantage, well, that's
Yes,
why
sir,
he's
right
here.
here.
He protects me from
Is
myself.
there any way I could get you to go to the mic? Thanks. Gold star.
The question's for Joe. You said you deal primarily with CAC on your subprime.
On the buy here, pay here side.
Well, so there's no more buy here, pay here. It's all CAC.
Yes.
How do you structure and make money from these products with CAC, because they have their own service contracts and things like that?
Yes, we maximize profits through CAC. CAC has its own separate program that we have to follow. So, but the subprime will be, in selling the products, will be different, which we'll talk about here in just a second.
Yeah, you're going to help us roll right into our next topic, which is going to be kind of moving into F&I products per se. And we're going to start with Rob on this, and we're going to kind of walk through some products with you on the subprime side. We're going to start with Rob. Rob, you want to start with CPO, talk about certified pre-owned, what's going on in the market right there, how it can be advantageous to the dealers in the room?
Yeah, certainly. For the buyer payer market, the NABD has opened up their certified pre-owned to the buyer payer market. And what that is allowing you is the customer who's searching for certified pre-owned to see your inventory, to see your car. And the idea there is to get a better quality customer, maybe a higher score, maybe a more likely to pay. So you're able then to advertise that you have certified pre-owned to grab that 70% of the market who looks for that first. For the subprime, the CPO, like with a bank like Ally, they'll advance $1,500 more. Well, just in North Carolina, you have to go to each one of their local branches, each one of their local reps, but they'll advance $1,500 more on a certified pre-owned. Now, we have to give them the 125-point inspection that the car goes through. You have to give them all the documents, but for that, you'll get more money advanced. So for a certified pre-owned, it's the warranty, it's the advertising, and then it's the additional money on the advance for the subprime, and it's hopefully for the buyer payer, because it's brand spanking new, we just started it beginning of October, is to get the higher quality customer who is looking for certified pre-owned. And there's some value to that customer to have that inspection.
We'll move over to Joe. Joe, when we look at the F&I office, from comparing buy here, pay here, and retail, there's a lot of different things going on when we get to F&I. And can you walk through, with your experience practically, the different opportunities that there are in subprime, rate and reserve, for example, come into play, extended service contracts, gap policies, ancillary products. Can you walk the dealers in the room through some of those options they have and opportunities to generate more revenue on the back end?
Sure. Okay, so the first one would be what we call rate reserve or your finance income. So basically how that works, and most of you already know this, so just bear with me. The bank will tell you, the subprime lender or the finance company will tell you what rate that your buy rate could be at. Then you have a sell rate, which you can mark up that buy rate 1, 2, up to 3 points typically. And then that difference, that 1, 2, or 3% is considered as additional income. That's the APR, and you can make that as finance income. Or the lender will just pay you a flat rate, and that'll depend upon the particular program that they have. So typically on subprime, your penetration should be at 90% of vehicles financed, and you should be making, the benchmark for that is about $700 per vehicle financed, or per vehicle retailed on the income there. The next one would be, we've been talking a lot about extended service contracts. With subprime, your penetration should be 75% of the vehicles sold. You should have an extended service contract. And at that 75%, you should be making roughly, the benchmark's about $1,200 per service contract sold. Gap policies, gap is regulated in many states as to what you can charge, but it'll range anywhere from $150 profit up to about $500 profit per gap policy. And you should certainly be running 80%. In our store, we run 99% gap because of the benefits that it has to the customers. Other ancillary products such as tire and wheel, windshield replacement, lost key replacement, etch, we'll be talking about that in just a little bit. You should be running 35% penetration with that, meaning of all your subprime deals, 35% of them should be getting these types of products, and your average would be about $700 per vehicle. So adding all that up, you should be running roughly at about a $2,000 profit, roughly, at least on average, and that's per vehicle retailed. So of all the subprime deals that you do, you should run that per vehicle retailed.
Also, real quick, we'll kind of circle back to your question, and that is a lot of dealers that are in subprime. If you're buy here, pay here, you're thinking about moving into subprime, or if you're already in the subprime space, some of the subprime lenders that you deal with will charge an advance, a discount type fee. Joe, how do you navigate through that? What are some things that you've experienced that you can give advice to the dealers in the room on navigating through some of those discounts?
Well, probably one of the biggest differences between subprime and your finance products as well as them moving to prime, the differences between the two is that on buy here, pay here, you generally are focused more on the profit of the entire deal, at least in our store, the profit on the entire deal, and ensuring the customer has the ability and will pay. The finance is important, but it's not as critical because you control what you can sell the car for. You control the retail price of that vehicle. With subprime, you're not necessarily in control of what the retail price of that vehicle is because that is controlled by what the lender's advances will be, and those are preset. Some lenders will do 100% advance of NABD or Kelly Book. Some do 110, 120%. Some you'll even find will do 130 up to 140%. But they're the ones dictating what the advance is per vehicle that they'll finance. So the key is to maximize every F&I profit dollar on the back end. And that's where the focus becomes is on subprime is maximizing and sweeping the table and getting every F&I profit dollar that's available.
That's great. Any questions about products? Yes, sir. Is there any way I can get you to come to the microphone so we can record that?
I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to understand how you manage that with the fees.
How do you manage that with the fees was the question.
Discounts, some lenders charging a discount fee or provide the deal. I hear the advance, but I'm not sure how you go about dealing with that.
That's a really good question. What I would say is I would shop around for the lenders. I'm not sure which lenders you're having and what you're talking about, the higher fees. Now is the perfect time to shop around and try and find some different lenders to minimize those fees. One thing that people may or may not know is that credit unions do a lot of subprime financing. There's credit union groups such as CUDL, CUDC that you might want to contact. You got to pay a little monthly fee. It's $295 a month to be with them. And there's an explosion of credit unions that you now have access to that you could submit those deals out to. In addition to that, you have AmeriCredit, Capital One, Santander, Flagship, and Prestige, or some other lenders that you can use as well. The other thing I would do is try local or regional subprime lenders to see what programs are available to them there. These resources, if you shop around, you'll find that they will be very competitive on the fees. The big key is to get your deal. You will need, if you're using CUDC, CUDL, the credit unions, you will need to sign up with a F&I portal, which is either Route 1 or DealerTrack, to be able to submit your deals through. The big key with that is to get the deal approved. So you want to submit it. This is being recorded, correctly? Correct? Okay, so let me word it in a proper way. You want to, these are being approved on an automated basis, these deals. So you want to submit the deal so that it would be approved on an automatic basis. And then once it's approved, contact the buyer and give them to Paul Harvey the rest of the story. And then you could tell them, okay, well, they don't necessarily have the $5,000 down, they have $1,500 down, and they've decided to maybe change a car or whatever the case may be. But that's kind of going off a tangent, but that's one thing that you want to do is to make sure that you get approval, and then you can come back and talk to a human being, which will help you get your additional approvals. You can also negotiate with them on the fees and get them to discount their fees as well. The one thing that I would try and do is limit the number of lenders that you have. That's why I like CUDC and CUDL because, and with all your subprime lenders, you want to limit yourself to about 3 or 4 really strong ones because they will want to see a volume of business from you. The other thing that with subprime, and it's true with buy here, pay here, but with subprime, you got to understand that the basis for the lenders making is the decisions on how much that they'll loan on the customer is not only on the payment to income, but it's also based upon the advance. So they're going to find out what book that they're using. Some use NABD, some use Kelly or both. Few use Black Book, depending upon the area that you're in. But you want to be able to buy your subprime cars about $2,500 to $3,000 back a book. You'd say, well, that's not possible. It is possible. You just got to really zone in and find those vehicles. And when I'm talking about behind book, we're talking about behind wholesale book, you want to make sure that you have a way of updating your book sheets and that your inventory, your subprime inventory is booked out, and that you're adding for every possible option. Every vehicle should every truck has wide tires on it. If it has a rear step bumper and it says towing capacity of 1,200 pounds or towing weight of whatever, that's a tow package. I've had that contested by lenders. That is a tow option. And that you're maximizing every legitimate, it has to be on the vehicle and it has to be verifiable book option. So if you shop around, you'll find schools of what we call schools of fish that'll be going by. So right now, like Nissan Altimas, there's a plentiful supply, particularly down in the Atlanta area, as well as VW TDIs. Those are great subprime car right now. Those are coming off of the Volkswagen buyback program. They have clean titles. It was a lawsuit settlement program. They're not lemon law buybacks or anything. And those are coming in, and those are great cars. They get great gas mileage. They have factory warranties, and they'll reinsure very well. And that's a great price range car.
Perfect. Any other questions about warranty products? We've talked a little bit about rate reserve. We talked a little bit about extended service contracts, reinsurance CPO. We talked about, what about ancillary products? So what are some ancillary products that we may be able to generate even more revenue in the F&I office and subprime? Rob, you want to field that?
Yeah, I mean, again, for the buyer payer guys, you know, you're not going to go into ancillary products because that's your money. But for the subprime people, I mean, you get tire and wheel, you get appearance packages, you can get key replacement, you can get roadside assistance. Now, I know you buy here payer, people are saying, oh God, roadside assistance would be good for my guys. No. All it is a gas delivery service. They'll cut you off real quick because your clients will use them for gas delivery. I know, we've done it. And then, I mean, almost anything you can name, you can do, and you can finance it. I mean, I was just cheating. I looked at Joe's sheet. Even he had car alarms down. Car alarms. If your car doesn't have one on there, those are reinsurable. All those products can be reinsured on a subprime basis. Did I leave any out?
There's some other products that are out there. And again, the key to in my opinion, the key to making money at subprime, and the gentleman asked earlier, how do you absorb the fees? The key is you may have a fee of $300, $500, as high as $1,200 on a particular deal. Just keep in mind that on the back end, typically you'll have several thousand available, several thousand dollars available to you to make on the back end with the F&I products. So some of these ancillary products are very important. So we talked about tire and wheel replacement, key replacement, windshield replacement. We talked about those. I just signed up a company called Road Advantage, which is a great product. There's no application of anything. It's a actual contract policy that costs $100, and you could charge $495 to find $595 for it. It covers any stains, rip, tears, or imperfections on the interior of the vehicle. If it cannot be cleaned, like a stain in a carpet, or tear in a leather seat, it doesn't matter what it is, they actually replace it for the consumer. That's a policy. They just come in, we take care of it, and basically keeps your car reupholstered, and if the carpet's stained, they'll replace the entire carpet in the vehicle. So for me, I had five children, and my wife's minivan always looked like the DMZ whenever I'd open it up. So it's a great way. And of course, it's the very first time we've all watched the movies where the dad's driving, he buys everyone a cherry Coke, and then he's driving his brand new car and he stops real quick and everybody spills the cherry Coke. So if it can't be cleaned up, it'll replace it for him.
That's great. Anybody heard of diminishing value? The diminishing value, raise your hand if you heard of the diminishing value product. Pretty interesting. We're real familiar with GAP. The diminishing value product is kind of the reverse of GAP. So that's another ancillary product that you could look into. So a ton of ancillary products out there to make more revenue opportunities in the F&I office. We're going to switch gears. Any questions? Any other questions about product in F&I and subprime? Because we're almost at our question limit.
Yeah.
That's a joke. Yes, sir. Gold star. You get a gold star.
Is there a place where you get a list of companies? I think you mentioned some as you speak, and I'm trying to tap in as fast as I can. But like companies that offer these products, or that you suggest or recommend, and then also lenders as well. And you said Cuddle and CBC. You said try to grab 2 or 4. Is there a list as well that we can work off of?
Yeah, his question was, is there a list that we can get, a list of warranty companies that offer these products, what those products are, as well as lenders? You guys got anything to speak to that?
I mean, just here at the show, there's probably 6 warranty companies or service contract companies. you know, they all advertise everywhere, I'll tell you. And as far as lenders, it is, you know, I'll tell you right now, again, I don't know if we have any lenders here today, subprime lenders.
No, I didn't see any.
But, you know, if you go to NIADA, they're all there. If you look at the attendee list from there, which is readily available, it's there also for you to, you know, pick up the list.
And I've got quite a few of those too, so, because I do all the retail stuff. You can see me after and I can connect with you and get you all that stuff. No problem. We got a few minutes left. Any other questions about product while we're on product? We got just a few minutes left. We're going to switch gears to our last section, which is on process. So we know in the buy here, pay here, the sales process and the F&I process is different than on the retail when you're doing retail or subprime. So, and we also have another session tomorrow. That session's expanding your buy here, pay here with subprime retail. That's tomorrow at 2:15. I know Joe McCloskey's going to be on that panel again. So if you've enjoyed taking notes on what he's been saying here in this session, he's going to be on that panel tomorrow at 2:15, expanding your buy here, pay here with subprime retail. But just if we could end on those differences, process-wise, what are some of the differences? You know, Joe, and I know you've seen both sides of the house because you were a buy here, pay here dealer, now a very successful retail dealer. What are some of the processes? Are there differences in processes? And what would some of the main differences be for the dealers to think about?
Essentially, first of all, there's some changes in your processes that you'd want to set up in your infrastructure. First of all, we talked about signing up some new lenders. I definitely would sign up a new portal. You had asked about some different lenders that are available. Your subprime lenders will only basically sign you up through Route 1 or DealerTrack. We haven't used DealerTrack. But you'll turn that on. You become a subscriber to those, and automatically it'll start populating with lenders. And then you can contact those lenders. That's one good way of working it. The next thing is that you would change your buying process for subprime vehicles, as I described earlier, $2,500 to $3,000 back a book. The sweet spot on those are 5-year vehicles and newer, less than 75,000 miles, so that you could get a term on the vehicle. If they'll go up to 72 months if it has less than 75,000 miles on it, with a cost of less than $12,000, so it fits into payment structure for subprime vehicles, and that's on cars, and less than $20,000 on trucks. You'll need to keep your book out information. You need to have a process of keeping your book out information correct and up to date. Keep in mind that books change weekly, so if you have some type of booking software that's available to you that will automatically update, that'll help you out dramatically. You want to make sure that your vehicles are reconditioned, and probably your biggest process change is off the desk. So many people think that it's with our salespeople, how to train our salespeople on how to sell. Basically, all that's the same, because if you have a subprime customer coming in, you'll want to try and fill out a credit application as soon as you can. I can cover the sales processes more in depth tomorrow. But the big process is going to be off the desk. Your desk managers, how they're desking the deals, what deals do you want to go to the subprime lenders, and which ones do you want to keep in-house? And being able to have them really study and know how to read a book out sheet, or how to read a lender sheet, a callback sheet, because they are somewhat encoded, and you think, well, it's just going to be right here, but you really got to study the lender programs. So,
Also, you mentioned earlier, an F&I guy or gal, a strong F&I person is probably the biggest difference you'll have, because they'll know the programs, they'll know how to book out, they'll do all the stuff that you're talking about. And right now, if you're buy your pay, you probably don't have F&I. You probably have the salesman or the sales manager close the deal. In the subprime world, you have an F&I desk. You have a menu. You're using DealerTrack to book the deal, and you probably turn around saying, okay, Mr. Customer, here's your 4 different choices. Which package do you want? So it's a little different than what your sales process is now. Now in the buyer payer world, if you'll finance it, they'll take it. Well, in this world, it's a little different. You need a strong closer to close the deal, to sell it. Because you were mentioned earlier about the award you got. The CSI is so important that if your F&I manager doesn't truly sell it, you might have all the gross in the world, but the chargebacks are going to kill you.
Because the products are cancelable.
Well, I got to tell you, I do this a lot, and there was a ton of information in that 45 minutes. Would you guys agree? Will you give them a big round of applause?